Hi everybody, Rock Dude here.
Mark Z, and welcome to another awesome Season 2 episode of the
Rockin House.
Today we got special guest, Mike Lepond. If you don't know who he is, he's played in some signature bands. There's Symphony X. A lot of people know who Symphony X is. I've been with them for like 17 years, I believe. He's still with them. Death Dealer, Ross the Boss, and these guys, of course, Mike Lepond, Silent Assassins, just put out a brand new album, actually. Who Are Babylon. You gotta check it out, man. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, Mike Lepond's a progressive metal bass player, plays very melodic and very proficient bass player. So when you want to see who the killer metal bass players are, Mike Lepond's at the top of the list of all that.
Oh, yeah.
Such a humble man. When he went for the interview for Symphony X, he didn't even think he qualified. A guy of his quality and his proficiency was worrying about if he's going to make the grade for Symphony X. But, right. So,
that's what he said.
Wow. So along the way, he was looking for an 8-string bass. That's what some progressive musicians are looking for, a multi-string bass.
Yep.
And he contacted a friend of his, was John Gallagher of the Raven Band, who's been around since 1975, and they're basically a prog metal band. If you don't know Raven, they are, and in the 80s, bands like Metallica were the opening act for Raven.
Oh, yeah.
So he calls up John Gallagher, and go ahead, tell him the story, Mark.
Yeah, he basically said, I want to get my hands on one of them 8-string basses. I know you play one. I love the way it sounds, blah, blah, blah. And basically said, well, I have a signature bass. Well, to make a long story short, it turns out that he wound up saying, if you got one of those basses available and they're already designed and ready to go, I want one right now. And right then and that, boom, he went and bought one. And now he owns one of the 5.
Well, supposedly there's 5 John Gallagher signature basses, like the one he uses on stage. So our friend on the show today has one. So Mike Lepond is, in my estimation, one of the top bass players in metal today. So go ahead, Mark.
Absolutely. Well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to bring Mike Lepond on to the show today for you guys. We're going to tell you his story, which is quite awesome. Let's bring on Mike Lepond to the Rockin House. Welcome to the show, brother.
Still I wonder why I close my eyes, lost in the memory, just like a candle in the wind. What could have been with just one kiss goodbye? You spread your wings to fly far away. Somehow, someday, you will understand. I hope you'll understand someday. Silent pictures speak like.
All right, this is Marky Z, and I'm with my partner, Rock Dude, and we have an awesome episode today for you on the Season 2 of the Rockin House. I got Mike Lepond. If you don't know who Mike Lepond is, man, he plays in so many bands, you should know who this guy is. Symphony X, Silent Assassins, Death Dealer, Ross the Boss, just to name a few, and I'm sure he's got other projects that I probably don't even know about. Mike, welcome to the Rockin House. We're so glad to have you here, brother.
Thank you so much, guys. It's a pleasure to be on. Looking forward to sharing some cool stories, talking shop, and just having a good time.
All right, brother. So we're going to start this show with how Mike Lepond started. You know, you do all these amazing things right now, but of course there's always a reason how it started and how you got there. And it's not always the same reason of why you're doing what you're doing now. So let's see what your story is on how you started as a musician, brother.
All right. Well, let's take everybody back to 1979.
All right.
At Madison Square Garden in New York City.
Nice.
I was 13 years old, and my father takes me to see Kiss.
Unbelievable.
So you got to put your mind into a 13-year-old's head, and you see a Kiss show. The bombs are going off. They look like superheroes to me, you know.
Yeah.
And I see Gene Simmons is breathing fire. He's flying in the air. He's, he was like, I couldn't believe what this guy was doing. And then after that show, I was hooked.
That was it.
I was like, that's what I want to do for a living. So my father, God rest his soul, he bought me my first bass soon after.
Nice.
I took lessons for about a year from a jazz teacher, but it was kind of boring. So I decided that I was going to teach myself. And my first goal was to learn every Kiss song that was out at the time. So we were up to Dynasty at that time.
Okay.
And
Nice.
so I used to set up a microphone. I had the bass plugged in. I put on Kiss Alive 2, and I would play along with the moves. And it was
That's awesome.
But it was a great training ground if you were a bass player, because Gene's stuff, especially in the 70s, the way he walked the bass and played around the chord, it really was a good training ground about how to learn bass.
Yeah.
And then after Gene, I start getting into, Geezer Butler and Steve Harris and all of them, Geddy Lee, the whole crew,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man.
all that put together, all started to make my sound. I joined my first band when I was 16, just doing covers.
Yep.
Again, another great way to learn bass lines and writing. And then basically throughout the 80s and the 90s, I was just, a struggling rock metal musician in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. I really didn't think anything would come of it. I was we were all trying to make it. That was the cool word. And,
Yep.
So then in 1999, I used to hang out at this place in Jersey called the Birch Hill. And this one guy knew Symphony X. And he was like,
okay.
Hey, these guys, Symphony X is looking for a bass player. Wasn't really sure who they were, but he said they were touring and doing all this stuff. So I said, all right, count me in,
Yeah.
So Michael Romeo from Symphony X gets in touch with me and sends me their material. But once I put in the CD, I didn't realize the level of playing that this was on. Like I was just like your normal Priest Maiden dude, playing bass. But this stuff was on a level that was like way over that,
Yeah.
So I said to myself, all right, well, you're either going to do this for real or just put the bass down and get a job and do it what you're supposed to do that way.
Yep.
I decided I was going to go for it. So I practiced all day, every day after I got home from work, crazy. So, 2 weeks go by. It's time for the audition.
Yeah.
I go in there. I didn't really think I was going to make it because these guys were so good, but I wanted to go anyway just to tell them how great I thought they were.
Gotcha. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I go in there, and when I started playing with them, I realized that they are human too, and it didn't have to sound as perfect as the record, and I was keeping up with them, and I was able to do it. And then fast forward, I went from playing to 2 people at a Jersey bar to playing my first gig in Brazil in front of 1,000 people.
Nice.
I couldn't believe it. It was kind of like that movie Rockstar,
Yep.
You go from playing to nobody, and then all of a sudden you play to these people. They know your songs. They're singing to them. And it was just like, it was really a dream come true.
Sure. That's amazing, man. That's an awesome story. And that's how Symphony X, you got into that band. You were intimidated by that band at first.
Absolutely.
Because they were so on the level of, like, I guess probably like Dream Theater would be a good example. And, you're playing metal. No, not that Iron Maiden isn't intricate, they are. But you are right, that's another level. And I'll tell you what, we are going to come back with Mike and talk about how his career with Symphony X and this start spawned a bunch of careers with even other known metal bands just a minute.
from the valley of the kings with nothing to atone. A dark march lies ahead. Together we will ride like thunder from the sky. May your sword stay wet like a young girl in her prime. Hold your hammers high. Fly down the waiting like a raven in the sky. I was born to die. Hear me when I am now as I look into your eyes. None shall hear a lie. Power and dominion are taken by the will, by divine right, hail and kill. Hail and kill,
All right, this is Marky Z, my partner Rock Dude. Welcome back, Mike. What a cool story about Symphony X. Wow. That I would have never guessed. Like I said, I would have never guessed some of these stories these guys tell me. It's so awesome. So now let's move forward a little bit with Symphony X. You're now playing in front of more than 300 people or 100. You're playing like in the thousands. You said you played your first show in Brazil and it was like, holy crap, am I really here? Let's talk about how things moved on with Symphony X because you stayed with them a long time.
Absolutely. And, I'm still with them to this day since 1999. So,
Wow.
what is that, like 21 years or something like that?
Man, that's awesome.
And so, I joined Symphony X. I started making records with them,
Yeah.
touring all over the world.
Wow.
South America, Canada, of
Nice.
course, the USA, Europe. We even played China one time.
Nice.
So, when we just kept doing that over, make records, go on tour. And it was just like
Yeah.
what I had always dreamed of. And I would imagine 99% of metal guys dream of,
Yeah, man. You're doing it. You were doing it.
Yeah. So I was actually, doing it.
Yeah, man.
So, that went on, it's still going on.
Yep.
And then I started to see that, Symphony X would have breaks in between
Yep.
tours,
Sure.
But obviously you're a working musician. You want to keep money coming in,
Yep.
So I started to see that other bands, I guess because I was in Symphony X
Right.
and I was able to get a name for myself,
Yep.
they wanted to hire me to play on albums
Nice.
or do tours, do projects. And I started probably doing that maybe about 8 years after I joined Symphony X,
Wow.
into the, so I started doing that and it was good for me because between the tours, I could keep money coming in and do okay. And then I figure around 2014, I got to a point where I was like, I've got a lot of songs because my heart is really with classic heavy metal, not so much progressive heavy metal,
Yeah. Yep.
And I had all these songs laying around and I was like, why don't I try to do a solo project,
Right.
And
Yep.
this would be an homage to classic heavy metal,
Yeah.
everything from Priest to Megadeth, that kind of thing,
Hell yeah.
So I started putting all these songs together. And Michael Romeo from Symphony X helped me out. He recorded everything. I got Alan Tecchio from, you might know him from Watchtower or Hades.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
and
think
he
I
had
heard
a
him.
good- he had a good raspy heavy metal voice.
Nice.
And so I did 3 solo albums from started around 2014. I put my last one out in 2020.
Nice.
And so that's been a lot of fun, man. It's like it's one of those things where, you know, everything I write the music, I write the lyrics, everything.
Yeah.
And it's like your baby, you know. So it feels good.
Oh, yeah.
And during all that time, you know, doing symphony, and then in 2016, I meet the legend Ross the Boss.
Yeah, man,
you know?
brother.
And I was
Man of War.
I was a huge Man of War fan, you know.
Yeah. Metal Kings. They're called the Metal Kings.
Yeah.
I know. Oh, yeah.
So he says, "Hey, you want to go on the road, play some Man of War songs and some new originals?"
How cool.
So I bought an 8-string bass.
Nice.
An 8-string bass is kind of set up like a 12-string guitar. So it has such a full, nice sound.
Yeah.
That's what Joey used in Man of War for a lot of tunes.
Yeah.
And I built up a great career with Ross the Boss as well.
Nice.
And so, you know, I'm just kind of like, I always find myself on tour or recording.
That's good.
And just very, very lucky that I was able to do this. I owe everything to Symphony X, you know, because if it wasn't for them,
Yep.
I wouldn't be able to do all these things. And right now, I just did an album for a band called Mentalist. They're like a German.
I heard of them. I did hear them.
Like a Halloween kind of style, really good.
Nice.
That's
man.
going to be coming out. Your buddy Sean Peck with Death Dealer.
Yeah, killer. Love them.
He's great. You got some stuff coming out with him.
Yeah.
Another band I just did something for, another Australian band, Arkenstone. And it's just, you know, I'm just lucky to do all these things. So just looking forward to the next thing. I never get tired of it, you know. I'm sure you don't either, man.
No. It's like a journey, and I would never want to end the journey. I mean, it's insane. You know,
Yeah.
I am just like you when it comes to that. But here's the cool thing. When you're saying you're doing your own thing, I guess you're talking about Mike Lepond's Silent Assassins band. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct. You know,
Gotcha. Okay.
I thought it was a cool name. I had it in my head for like a long time, you know.
It is cool, actually.
And it's just like, you know, straight ahead in your face power metal. Which is cool because it, you know, Symphony X is very progressive, very technical.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a different departure, and it lets me, you know, kind of be like, get that other side of me out, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I like so many different kinds of heavy metal, and that you know, I like doing it all. I like the slow stuff, the fast stuff, you know.
Yeah, man.
And I also, in this Silent Assassin stuff, I put a little flavor of kind of like a little Blackmore's Night flavor in some of the parts.
Okay.
Medieval, real media. I love what Richie does in that band, you know.
Yeah. It's interesting.
So, I try to copy what he's doing on the guitar, but I try to do it on the bass, and it kind of gives you like it's a kind of a cool thing going on, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, so I do all that stuff, and you know, still, even though there was a pandemic and no touring,
Yep.
I was still getting offers to record, which is cool.
That's great, man. You kept busy, no matter what.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
now, you know, so you know, like I said, very blessed, and you know, hoping things just continue.
That's amazing, man. Well, we're going to come back and talk about some more awesome things, of course, with the Silent Assassins, because I believe you put out a brand new album, Whore of Babylon. We'll come back and talk about that.
Call from the altar to the ancient town beyond. The rain queen teaching
All right, this is Marky Z again, and I'm back with Mike Lepond, and we're going to talk about some interesting things. Of course, we're talking about Whore of Babylon, the new album he just put out with Silent Assassins, Mike Lepond, Silent Assassins, which I had heard some of the music, some of the samples. It's unbelievable, dude. It's killer. I really like it. I'm liking what you're doing. And, of course, we're going to talk about some of your gear. We were just talking about that a minute ago, of what you use, and you're going to share that here on the Rockin House of what gives Mike his unique sound as a bass player in these awesome bands that we talked about. Let's talk about that.
All right. Well, should we do Whore of Babylon or the gear first?
Yeah. Let's talk about that because we're still talking about how that band's moving along, being your baby,
Right. Amen. Whore of Babylon. I came. That name just came to me. I was writing one of the songs. I was like, okay, that's the song. That's the title track. But
it's cool.
Whore of Babylon basically is a power metal album, and it's got some stuff that's like classic heavy metal.
Yeah.
And it's also got some folky aspects. It's got some Middle Eastern kind of things going on.
Nice.
And what I do with all my albums, for the longest time, I would write music, but I wouldn't know what to write lyrics about because it's like, I don't want to write lyrics about, hey man, we're cruising on a Saturday night and the feeling's right, and the chicks are tight,
Yeah, it's like 1985. I know.
So it's like I don't want to write about that stuff. This stuff's dumb, So
something has meaning.
Yeah. So
I got you.
Sometime in the mid 2000s, I discovered the History Channel, and I just fell in love with it.
That was it.
And I just learned so much about history, mythology, literature. So it's like these lyrics about that stuff go perfect with metal,
Yes.
It's
mystical.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's grand. It's so powerful. So I started basically all the songs all the lyrics I write about, they're like a little concept in themselves.
Love it.
So
nice.
Whore of Babylon is a collection of metal tunes, and the lyrics come from like history, mythology, literature. They tell stories, and I found that if I write the lyrics first, or maybe at least an outline first,
yeah,
I could tailor the music to what I'm trying to say, So if I'm writing something that's kind of sad, I could, make the chord changes a little sad.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Reflects on the mood of the music. I get it. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
and
cool.
It really, I used to always write the music first, but now I do it the other way, and for me it works, Wow. So Whore of Babylon is a collection of heavy metal tunes, epic lyrics, and some kind of folky, mystical things.
Yep.
And you're a bass player, so you might find this cool. The title track, Whore of Babylon, has no guitar in it. It's just a 4-string bass,
nice.
An 8-string bass, and a keyboard.
Wow.
And it's really kind of this belly dancer kind of style thing.
Nice.
It's kind of different.
Middle Eastern type thing.
Yeah.
Very cool, bro. I like that.
So that's been out, that came out 2020.
Okay.
I was like, well, should I put it out during a pandemic?
Yeah.
But then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? Everybody's home. They're probably looking for new music. So just put the damn thing out,
Yes.
And so it's great. I'm lucky it's got some good reviews.
Nice.
I got some great lyric videos out of it too, which is cool.
Very cool.
And I guess we were talking about during the break.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, I wrote another solo album, which I'll record sometime in the future.
Nice, man. Well, it's also biblical involved too, because the Whore of Babylon is mentioned in Revelations, man. So when I saw that, I was thinking, wow, I wonder if Mike's taking excerpts from the Bible and Book of Revelations, and that's kind of where he's going with this. And then you say the History Channel, so yeah, I picked right up on where you're going with this. So that's pretty cool.
You nailed it. You nailed it, 100%.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, that the Whore of Babylon is basically from Revelation, and that's what it's about. You know, she takes you to hell and all that stuff, and
so cool.
Yeah, so you know, I just love doing it. I love doing this style of music, and it's been cool.
All right, so let's move on to talk about some of the gear that you play. You talk about 8-string basses and things like that. And I know we've had from Raven, John Gallagher, a good friend. I got to play a couple shows with his band in Delaware, and he had an awesome 8-string bass, and that thing sounded beautiful. And he built it from like a simple, cheaper Ibanez Iceman bass, but it sounded like $1 million, Mike. The way it sounded was unreal. So let's talk about your gear, man.
Well, you know, since you brought up John Gallagher, I got a good story about John Gallagher.
He's a great guy. I love that guy. He's so cool. Him and his brother Mark, great people.
Oh, yeah, the best.
They are. They really are.
So underrated, too. Underrated.
I agree with you on that. They were insanely awesome metal players.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so I joined Ross the Boss, and you know, he says, well, you know, we need an 8-string for some of the Manowar tunes.
Okay.
So I was like, man, where am I going to get an 8-string? So I knew John Gallagher plays 8-string, and I was like, you know, I've never talked to him, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just ask him, you know. I was kind of shy. Yeah. So I wrote to him.
Yeah.
And you know what? Son of a bitch, he got right back to me. And he was like, you know, he goes, well, I have a signature 8-string bass, and you could get it through this company.
Wow.
So I was like, dude, if you got a signature 8-string bass that I could buy, I'm going to buy it right now. And I did. And the bass looks just like his, dude. It's that red Explorer body.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I bought it, and, you know, it sounds great. It's cool. So I got that, and my 4-strings, I have an endorsement with a company. They're not well known, but it's, you know, they make all the basses handmade.
Nice.
They're called Caparison.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, Caparison. Their offices in England. They make them in Japan, but handmade.
Wow, awesome.
Sound great, and I've had a endorsement with them probably for about 15 years now.
Nice.
So, real happy with them.
Very cool.
As far as the amplification,
yeah,
you know, when I started out with Symphony X, I had gotten an endorsement with Peavey at the time.
Oh yeah, Peavey's always awesome.
In the mid 2000s, so I had like some 810s, and then I had some. The heads they were called Tour 700 heads.
Nice.
But now, it's like like probably a lot of bass players, I don't want to carry heavy things anymore, bro.
Yeah, I get it, dude. I understand. I do.
So,
hell yeah.
A big part of my sound now is I have a Tech 21. It's called a bass fly rig. I don't know if you heard of this.
Tech 21. Wait, is it pretty new?
Tech 21, they make those Sans amps you've heard of.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So
cool.
I got this pedal board. It's literally maybe about a foot long only.
Okay.
You know, you could just throw it in your backpack if you're going on tour.
It's great.
It has everything you need. It gives you your little overdrive. You got chorus. You got a tuner in there. You got some compression.
All your basics, right?
Yeah, whatever, all the basics that you really need to get a good sound.
Nice.
So I plug it in. I get a good good gritty sound. Not too much, but a little bit.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And that's really all I need. If I go to Europe.
Yeah.
And the whatever amp they have there.
Yeah. Exactly.
I just plug the little fly rig into the head.
And you're golden.
Sounds great,
Yeah.
And really, that's all I use. For recording, I'll just use that fly rig. and that's it. It just gives me whatever I need, and you don't have to like mic an amplifier. I never want to do that again, bro.
Yeah, well, that's why all the amps I deal with, I like to deal with the ones that got the direct input, and all the sound guys love that because they can get your sound dialed perfectly because they don't got to put no mic in front of their speakers.
Yeah, they just got their little plugins.
That's it, man. Dial you right in. The bass is ready to go. Guitar players got to mess around to get their sound.
Yeah,
I know all about it.
totally.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
man.
dude.
That's so
That's
cool,
exactly.
man.
I'm the same way, man.
But a fly rig, how cool is that? A little tiny little rig. You could go anywhere in the world, play a concert, and all you do is just plug that thing into their cabs, and you got your sound that you need for any band you're in, whether it's Death Dior, Silent Assassins, it don't matter. It gives you your sound.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah,
Phenomenal.
these days I'm all about downsizing. Now, I'm looking to buy, at some point one of those micro bass heads.
Yes.
And a nice small cabinet.
Yep. Yep.
That's it, man. I don't want no more A10s.
That's a lot of weight to be dragging around every gig, and you're playing as much as you do. And like I tell a lot of my friends, oh, dude, they got roadies. Well, no, dude, I'm going to tell you something, man. I know Doug Aldrich. I got to interview him for Digital Revolution Radio, and Doug Aldrich still carries his own stuff because he said one guy once set up the Whitesnake sound that wasn't right, and David Coverdale lost it. And he said, from now on, you're setting your rig up, dude. Wow. And that's the end of that. Yeah, it messed his sound up. And he's like, dude, never again.
Oh, yeah. Some of these roadies, dude, like most of the roadies I work with are pro and good. Yeah. But there's been some that'll set my bass up out of tune.
Oh, my God. See what I mean? That's what I'm talking about.
We tune a whole step down, Symphony X.
Yeah. All right, well, we were talking about and ending our show, as we're going to do right now, Mike, is about what you're doing that's new with either Symphony X or Death Dior, or you just put something new out with the Silent Assassin, so I'm sure you got something going with that. So let's talk about that as we end the show with you today, which again, by the way, we appreciate you coming.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, so, during the pandemic, all these Symphony X tours were getting, postponed. So 2022, we got a lot of touring planned. We're going to start with a U.S. tour from mid-May to mid-June. Then we're going to go to Europe and play those big heavy metal festivals they have out there. So that'll take about 2 weeks. And then from there, we're going to go to South America and play for about a week. So, let's say we should make, so probably from, I'd say about 3 months, we're going to be touring to catch up on everything. So, looking forward to, playing again and getting the chops back and getting your head in the game again,
Yeah, man.
We're looking forward to it.
All right, well, this sounds great. It sounds like you got a lot going on with this pandemic. Definitely slow you down like a lot of these artists we had, and that's great to hear that. And I will tell you, we appreciate you coming to the show. We'll have you back sometime, I'm sure, when new things start developing. And I will say,